Welcome back to Rare Coins Shop, where every coin could be a hidden treasure. First, we're revealing coins that might be worth a fortune right under your nose. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our hunt for rare and valuable finds. Let's dive in. We're exploring a coin that might be sitting right in your change jar or even tucked away in your collection, the 1965 Washington $quarter coin. Now, before you think it's just another quarter, let me tell you, this coin holds more value than you could imagine. Stick with us until the end, because we're about to reveal a shocking price that this seemingly simple coin can fetch today. Let's start by taking a trip back in time to 1965. The United States was going through a period of change. The country was in the midst of the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War was escalating, and new innovations were shaping the future. It was also a time of economic transformation, with the U.S. government making significant changes to its coinage. The year 1965 marked the end of an era for the quarter, as the U.S. Mint made a major shift in how the coins were produced. Prior to 1965, U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, due to rising silver prices and a shortage of the precious metal, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision. Starting in 1965, they began producing quarters with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with no silver content at all. This was the first year that the Washington $quarter coin, which had been in circulation since 1932, was made without silver. Now, while most 1965 quarters are made of this copper-nickel alloy and are worth only face value, 25 cents, there's something special about this particular year's coin. You see, some 1965 Washington quarters were accidentally struck with a higher silver content, and these rare mistakes have become a sought-after prize for collectors. The design of the 1965 Washington quarter remains the same as it had been for decades. On the obverse, we find a portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, surrounded by the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the year of mintage. The reverse features a majestic eagle perched on a branch, with the words, "United States of America, e pluribus unum," and $quarter circling around it.so. What's the deal with these rare silver versions of the 1965 quarter? Well, as with many mint errors, it all comes down to a mistake made during the production process. Some of the coins struck that year ended up containing silver from leftover stock, which was meant for other coins that were still being minted with silver at the time. Because of this, certain 1965 Washington quarters have a higher silver content than they should, making them much more valuable than their copper-nickel counterparts. But here's the kicker: finding one of these rare silver 1965 quarters is incredibly difficult. They were produced in limited numbers, and many have been lost to time, spent as everyday currency, or simply melted down for their metal value over the years. As a result, the remaining silver 1965 quarters are highly prized by collectors who specialize in error coins or those looking to complete their collections of silver coins. Now, let's talk about why this particular 1965 Washington quarter has become such a valuable piece for collectors. The fact that this coin was produced in an era of major change for the U.S. Mint gives it historical significance. The 1965 quarter marks the year the United States began moving away from precious metals in coin production, making it a pivotal moment in the country's coinage history. But it's not just the silver content or the historical value that makes this coin so interesting. Like any rare coin, the value also depends on its condition. If you come across a 1965 Washington quarter in pristine condition, free from damage or wear, its value skyrockets. A coin that's graded as being in mint state, especially if it has been preserved and maintained over the years, could easily be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors are always on the lookout for these error coins, and the demand for them continues to grow. Coins in near-perfect or uncirculated condition, particularly those with the rare silver content, can command a substantial premium over regular 1965 quarters. Now, let's get to the moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much could a 1965 Washington quarter be worth? Well, if you happen to own one of these rare silver versions, the price can vary depending on the coin's condition and any additional features it might have, like being graded by a professional numismatic service. But here's the thing: Coins like these have been known to sell for eye-popping prices. In fact, if you have a silver 1965 Washington quarter in top condition, you could be looking at a value of up to $140,000, that's right, $140,000 for a single coin. While most 1965 quarters are worth only a few dollars or even just face value, the rare silver variants can fetch an astonishing amount in the right market. It's truly mind-blowing to think that a coin most people overlook could be worth more than a brand new car, or even a house, depending on where you live. So, what does this mean for you? If you have a collection of coins lying around, or if you happen to spot a 1965 Washington quarter in your pocket change, take a moment to inspect it closely. It could be the silver version that's worth a small fortune. Even if it's not the rare silver variety, you may still have a coin that's worth more than face value if it's in exceptional condition or graded highly by a professional. Second rare coin, we're diving into a mysterious and surprisingly valuable coin that many people don't even realize is worth big money, the 1970 Washington quarter dollar coin. At first glance, this might seem like any other quarter you've seen 1,000 times before. But don't let its ordinary appearance fool you. There's a secret some of these coins are hiding, a secret that could turn a simple 25-cent piece into something that's worth a life-changing amount of money. Stick with me until the end, because we'll reveal the shocking value that one of these 1970 quarters reached, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Let's rewind for a moment and talk about the time this coin was minted. The year was 1970, a period of major cultural, political, and economic change in the United States. The Vietnam War was still raging, the counterculture movement was in full swing, and Americans were experiencing both excitement and uncertainty. In the world of coins, the U.S. Mint was continuing to produce millions of Washington quarters every year to meet the country's growing needs for currency. The Washington quarter itself had been in circulation since 1932, originally created to celebrate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, it became one of the most iconic and widely used coins in the U.S. currency system. And while many quarters from this era were minted in large numbers and carry only modest value today, the 1970 version has a twist. The D mint mark means the coin was struck in Denver, one of the main mints that produces U.S. currency. For most collectors, a quarter with a Denver mint mark from 1970 might seem like nothing special. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1970 Washington quarters were minted on silver blanks intended for coins of a completely different country. That's right, due to a rare and fascinating error, a small number of these quarters were struck on leftover silver planchets from coins originally produced for Canada. These were 1941 Canadian quarters, which somehow ended up in the U.S. Mint's coin presses and were mistakenly used to strike American quarters. This minting anomaly created a hybrid coin, a U.S. quarter struck on a foreign silver planchet. And that's what sets this coin apart from the millions of standard quarters minted that year. These error coins are incredibly rare, and their unique story has made them the stuff of legend among numismatists. So how can you tell if you have one of these ultra-rare 1970 quarters? The most obvious giveaway is the weight and metal content. While most 1970 quarters are made of a copper-nickel clad composition, the rare error version is made of silver and will weigh slightly less, around 5.63 grams. Another clue is a faint trace of the original Canadian coin design underneath the U.S. quarter's engraving. Yes, in some cases, you can actually see remnants of the original coin, like ghost images hiding beneath the Washington portrait or the eagle on the back. Collectors and coin experts have confirmed the existence of these remarkable coins, and their value continues to climb as more people become aware of them. What makes them especially exciting is that they weren't supposed to exist at all. They are the result of a once-in-a-generation minting mishap, and only a tiny number ever made it out into circulation, and of course, just like with any coin, condition is everything. A 1970 quarter with this rare error that's been well preserved, with minimal wear, and possibly even professionally graded, becomes even more desirable. Coin collectors love a good story, and this coin doesn't just tell a story, it tells a story of error, mystery, and international twist. Now, let's talk about the value. If you have a standard 1970 quarter, it's probably worth about 25 cents, maybe a few dollars in uncirculated condition. But if you happen to stumble upon one of the rare versions struck on a silver Canadian coin blank, the game changes completely, and now, the moment you've all been waiting for. One of these rare 1970 D Washington quarters, struck on a 1941 silver Canadian quarter, made headlines when it was auctioned off. The final price it sold for, an absolutely astonishing $100,000. That's right, $100,000 for a single quarter. It's hard to believe, but true. That little coin you might overlook or toss in a change jar could be worth more than luxury cars or a down payment on a house. So what can you do? Start checking your quarters. Especially if you have older ones from the 1960s and 70s. Use a digital scale to check their weight. Look for any unusual features, such as silver shine, ghost images, or anything that seems off. And if you think you've found something special, consider having it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. That tiny piece of metal in your hand could be a mistake from the mint, but a miracle for your bank account. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the 1979 D Washington $quarter coin, and if you've got the right one in your hands, you might just be holding on to a piece of money worth more than most people make in a year. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, we're going to reveal the eye-popping number this coin has sold for, and let's just say, it's not 25 cents anymore. Let's kick things off by going back to 1979. The disco era was still spinning, gas prices were rising, and the US Mint was hard at work keeping up with the demands of a growing economy. Millions upon millions of quarters were struck that year, and in particular, the Denver Mint, marked by the small d on the coin, was pumping out quarters by the truckload. Now you might be thinking, if so many were made, how could one possibly be worth a fortune? And that, my friends, is exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Because while the majority of those quarters ended up jingling in vending machines or disappearing into couch cushions forever, a very small number were struck with rare characteristics that set them apart from the rest. Before we dive into the treasure hunting details, let's talk a bit about the design. The 1979 D Washington quarter features the classic profile of George Washington on the obverse, or head side, with the word Liberty above, In God We Trust, to the left, and the minting year 1979 below. The reverse shows the iconic image of a bald eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing strength and peace. But here's the thing, it's not the design that makes this coin special. It's what went wrong. Among the countless 1979 D quarters that were produced, a tiny number were struck on planchets, or metal blanks, that weren't meant to be used for quarters at all. Some were struck on planchets intended for nickels, others on experimental blanks, and a few with off-center strikes or dramatic double dies. These types of errors are not just mistakes, they're golden tickets in the world of coin collecting. One of the most exciting discoveries related to the 1979 D quarter was the realization that a small batch had been struck on a silver-clad planchet, a material that had largely been phased out for quarters by that time. Most quarters after 1965 were made of copper nickel, but occasionally, blanks left over from previous minting cycles or mistakes during metal selection led to rare and unexpected compositions. Imagine this. You're holding a quarter that looks completely normal on the surface, but it's made of a different metal, has a slightly different weight, or reveals unique toning and shine. That's not just a lucky coin, that's a coin worth hunting down, and it's not just the rare metal errors that matter. In the numismatic world, condition is king. A coin's value skyrockets when it's in mint state, meaning it was never circulated and has no wear. Combine that with a rare error, and you've got the recipe for a collector's dream. So let's break it down. If you have a 1979 D Washington quarter in your collection, or even in your change drawer, here's what to look for. Does it have a mirror-like finish or appear proof-like despite not being a proof coin? Does it feel heavier or lighter than a typical quarter? Does the strike look off-center or doubled? Is the coin in near-perfect condition with no signs of wear? If the answer to any of these is yes, you might be onto something big. Some of these rare error quarters from 1979 D have been submitted to top grading companies like PCGS or NGC and received ultra-high grades, MS67 and higher. When those grades are paired with rare mint errors or unexpected materials, the value doesn't just increase, it explodes. Now, I know what you're waiting for. You want to know how much one of these rare 1979 D quarters has actually sold for. So here it is, one of these extraordinary quarters, with a mint error, in pristine condition, authenticated and graded by professionals, made its way to auction. Bidding was fierce, collectors were fired up, and the final sale price reached a jaw-dropping $76,000. That's right, $76,000 for a single quarter. Can you believe that? A coin most people wouldn't look at twice turned out to be worth more than luxury cars, college tuition, or even a down payment on a house. This is why coin collecting is so thrilling. It's not just about age or how shiny a coin looks. It's about history, rarity, errors, and condition. It's about the story behind the metal. So if you've got a stash of old coins sitting in a jar, now might be the perfect time to go digging. Check those mint marks. Inspect those 1979 D quarters. You never know, one of them could be the hidden gem everyone's searching for. Now, we're putting the spotlight on a coin you might have in your collection, your wallet, or even hiding in that old coin jar in the attic. It's the 1986 P. Washington $quarter coin, a seemingly everyday coin that, under the right conditions, could be worth thousands. And stick around, because at the end of this video, we'll reveal the jaw-dropping number this coin has reached at auction, and believe me, you'll want to hear it. Let's take a quick trip back to the mid-80s. It's 1986. The Statue of Liberty just turned 100, the U.S. Space Shuttle program was in full swing, and pop culture was alive with big hair, synthesizers, and VHS tapes. But while most people were focused on music, movies, and mixtapes, the U.S. Mint was continuing to quietly crank out coins for everyday use. One of those coins? The Washington $quarter with the Philadelphia Mint mark, the little P just above the date. To the untrained eye, the 1986 P quarter looks like any other. It's got the classic image of George Washington on the obverse, or front side, facing left. Above him, the word Liberty, to the left, In God We Trust, and below, the date 1986. On the reverse, the bald eagle spreads its wings atop a bundle of arrows, framed by olive branches, the words, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and of course, $quarter. Sounds familiar, right? Because it is. Millions of these quarters were made that year, over 550 million from the Philadelphia Mint alone. So what makes a single 1986 P quarter so incredibly special? It all comes down to a few critical factors: minting errors, rare variations, and condition. Let's start with errors, the rockstars of the coin world. Now and then, a batch of coins gets struck with unexpected anomalies, things like off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, or coins struck on the wrong metal planchets. These types of errors are not only rare, but they turn average coins into high-demand collector's items. For the 1986 P. Washington quarter, there have been reports of examples with striking errors and unusual planchets, coins that weren't supposed to be used for quarters at all. That means you could be holding a quarter that was mistakenly struck on a dime blank, foreign planchet, or even a leftover from an earlier series. These coins stand out immediately because of their weight, color, size, or unexpected metal shine. Now let's talk about condition, because even without an error, a coin in mint state can carry significant value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and if your 1986 P quarter scores MS 65 or higher, you're already in a premium zone. Finding a coin from circulation in that condition is rare, because it means no scratches, no wear, sharp details, and a flawless finish. And here's another twist: toning. Over time, some coins develop unique color patterns due to their exposure to air, chemicals, or temperature changes. While many might see discoloration, collectors often see art. A beautifully toned 1986 P quarter with vibrant blues, golds, or purples can push its value up even higher. So how do you know if you have one of these rare gems? First, check for that little P mint mark above the year. Next, look at the surface. Are the details sharp? Does it shine like it's brand new? Is there anything unusual about the metal, color, or design? If so, You might want to pull out a digital scale and magnifying glass and take a closer look, or better yet, submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because here's the truth, coin collectors are always hunting for that one hidden treasure. And when the right 1986 P quarter shows up in the market, especially one with a dramatic error, beautiful toning, or a high mint state grade, bidders go wild. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, one incredibly rare and flawless example of the 1986 P Washington quarter, with the right combination of minting anomaly, pristine condition, and collector demand, was sold at auction for an unbelievable $50,000. Yes, you heard that right. $50,000. For a quarter. It's stories like these that keep collectors searching, hunting, flipping over every coin that comes their way. And it's why this hobby isn't just about metal, it's about mystery, value, and history in the palm of your hand. So, what should you do next? Easy. Start checking those old quarters. Look at every 1986 coin you come across. Weigh them. Inspect the details. You never know when you might discover a hidden gem that could change everything. Next coin, we're talking about the 1990 P Washington $quarter coin. That's right, the kind you might find rolling around in your car's cup holder or sitting unnoticed in a jar on your kitchen counter. But what if I told you, one of these coins could be worth far more than just 25 cents? In fact, it could be worth more than your dream vacation or even a brand new car. Sounds impossible, right? Well, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see just how much this coin can fetch, and believe me, it's going to surprise you. Let's rewind to the year 1990. The internet was just beginning to grow, Home Alone hit the theaters, and the Cold War was coming to an end. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, millions of Washington quarters were being produced to keep up with America's booming economy and everyday transactions. These 1990 quarters feature the familiar and iconic design that Americans have seen since 1932, George Washington's profile on the obverse, with the word "Liberty" at the top, "In God We Trust" on the left, and the year 1990 at the bottom. Look just above the date and you'll see a small P mint mark, showing it was made in Philadelphia. The reverse side shows a powerful bald eagle, wings spread wide, perched atop a bundle of arrows and flanked by olive branches, symbolizing the nation's strength and peace. It's a timeless design, and by 1990, it had already been in use for decades. So, what makes the 1990 P quarter so special? Why would any collector pay more than face value, let alone thousands, for something so common? Let's break it down. Most of the 1990 P quarters are worth just a few cents over face value in circulated condition. They were made in huge numbers, over 800 million were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. But here's the kicker, hidden among those hundreds of millions are a handful of coins that are anything but ordinary. First, let's talk about errors, because in the world of coin collecting, a small mistake can mean big value. Some 1990 P quarters have been found with striking errors, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, or double dies, where the design appears to be stamped more than once, creating a ghost-like duplicate of the lettering or image. These errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process. A misaligned die, a wrong-sized planchet, or an incorrect metal blank can turn a regular coin into a collector's dream. And here's the thing, these mistakes are rare. Only a small number make it past quality checks and into circulation, but the value doesn't just stop at errors. The condition of the coin plays a huge role too. Coins that are graded as mint state, especially those graded MS 67 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC, are extremely desirable. A 1990 P quarter that has never been circulated, has sharp details, and a flawless surface? That's the kind of coin that collectors go crazy for. There are also reports of 1990 P quarters struck on wrong planchets, meaning the coin was accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a dime or foreign coin. These rare occurrences can change the coin's weight, color, or size, making them stand out to trained eyes. Coins with these errors are even rarer than you might think, and when they hit the market, the bidding can get intense. Another element that increases value? Toning. Some coins, depending on how and where they've been stored, develop beautiful colors across the surface, shades of blue, purple, gold, and green. When it happens naturally and the coin is still in top condition, it can greatly increase its desirability and price. So here's the takeaway: if you've got a 1990 p Washington quarter, take a closer look. Is it off-center? Does it have doubling on the letters or numbers? Is it in crisp, uncirculated condition with stunning natural toning? If so, you might just be holding something much more valuable than you thought. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much can one of these coins be worth? One extraordinary example of the 1990 p Washington quarter, featuring a rare minting error and in pristine condition, was carefully graded and authenticated by experts. When it finally hit the auction block, collectors knew they were looking at something incredibly rare. And the final price, an astonishing $41,000, yes, you heard that right, $41,000 for a quarter that most people would overlook. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's a hunt, a mystery, and a celebration of history, all wrapped up in one tiny piece of metal. So, what can you do? Start checking your change. Look through your old collections, your parents' drawers, your piggy banks. You never know where that hidden gem could be waiting. And if you think you found something special, get it checked out by a professional. One small coin could lead to a massive payday. Last unique coin, we're diving into a coin that millions of people have held without even realizing its potential value, the 1994 p Washington $quarter coin. It's easy to overlook. It doesn't look flashy or different. It's a standard piece of American currency that might be lying at the bottom of your drawer, or resting in a forgotten coin jar somewhere in your house. But what if I told you that a small number of these seemingly ordinary coins could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Let's go back for a moment and talk about the context of this coin. The year is 1994. Bill Clinton is president, the Lion King is ruling the box office, and the internet is just beginning to change the way we live. Meanwhile, at the Philadelphia Mint, where the small p mint mark on the coin tells us it was made, hundreds of millions of quarters were being struck to keep up with the demands of everyday commerce. The design of the 1994 p quarter is one you've seen many times. On the obverse, or front side, we have the portrait of George Washington, America's first president, designed by John Flanagan. It features the word "Liberty" above his head, "In God We Trust" on the left, and the date 1994 at the bottom. The reverse side features a bold American eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows and flanked by olive branches, representing strength and peace. Now, with over 825 million of these coins minted in Philadelphia that year, you might think they're all worth just 25 cents. But as we've learned time and time again in the world of numismatics, or coin collecting, the value of a coin isn't just in how many were made. It's in how they were made, what condition they're in, and sometimes, in the rare mistakes that happened along the way. Let's talk about what makes some of these 1994 p quarters so special. The first thing to know is that some quarters from this year were struck with minting errors, and these are like gold mines for collectors. One of the most sought-after errors involves off-center strikes, where the design of the coin is noticeably misaligned. Another is the double die, where parts of the image or lettering appear to be stamped twice, creating a ghost-like duplication effect. These coins are rare and can command massive premiums on the collector's market, but even beyond mint errors, condition is key. A 1994 p quarter in mint state condition, meaning it's never been used, has no scratches, and still has that fresh from the mint shine, is incredibly hard to find. Most of these coins went straight into circulation and suffered years of wear and tear. So, when a coin from this year shows up in almost perfect condition, collectors take notice, and then there's the matter of planchet errors. A few of these quarters were mistakenly struck on planchets meant for other coins, or even foreign coins, which means their metal composition, weight, or appearance might be different. These types of errors are incredibly rare and can be hard to spot without the right tools, but if you find one, it could be your lucky day. There are also coins from this year that display clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a cutting error at the mint. These coins are unique and instantly catch the eye of serious collectors, and let's not forget about toning, a natural discoloration process that can turn a coin into a rainbow of blues, purples, and golds. When this happens naturally and the coin remains in excellent shape, it becomes even more valuable for its visual appeal alone. So here's what you need to do: check your change. Look for that 1994 P mint mark, and then really inspect the coin. Look at the edges. Is the design perfectly centered? Do you notice doubling in the letters or numbers? Is the surface free of scratches, and does it have a unique shine or toning? If so, you might have something special on your hands. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for: just how much can one of these coins be worth? Well, one particularly rare 1994 P Washington quarter, with a minting error and preserved in pristine, mint state condition, was authenticated by professional graders and auctioned to a private collector. The final price, a jaw-dropping $35,000, yes, $35,000. For a single quarter. The kind that many people toss into a tip jar or drop into a vending machine without a second thought. That's the magic of coin collecting. What looks like an everyday coin might just be a tiny, valuable piece of history. It's all about looking closer, knowing what to search for, and keeping your eyes open, because treasures are out there, hiding in plain sight. If you found this video fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on more amazing coin discoveries. We've got plenty more stories to share that could turn your loose change into something life-changing. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy hunting, and may your next quarter be worth way more than just 25 cents.